This is a production from the Takedown Sports. What's up, y'all? T-Brown31 here from the Takedown Sports, along with Jaboc the Great, and this is The Last Word. We've got a great hour of content for y'all today, so what's coming up?
So we've got a discussion of the Sam Darnold trade, as well as the fallout from the KD and Rapaport beef. Then we'll be hitting various topics from all around the sports world.
Hey man, that sounds great, but the first thing we have to start with is the Final Four and the NCAA Finals.
Yeah, we had some crazy games, and if you kept up with our picks from last week, you'll know we were very wrong. But each team that won the championship definitely deserved it.
Yep, I agree there. So first, we're going to talk about the all-time classic between Gonzaga and UCLA. So the UCLA-Gonzaga game is probably one of the greatest college basketball games to ever happen, tournament or otherwise. It went down to overtime, and Gonzaga did end up pulling out the victory 93-90. Jrue Timmy, as well as Jalen Suggs and Joel Ayayi, they all put up a lot of points, 25, 22, and 16 between the three of them. And then UCLA was led by Johnny Juzang at 29 points, but it just simply was not enough for that amazing Jalen Suggs shot at the end.
Yeah, I mean, when I saw Juzang tie up the game, I thought, wow, he's probably about to go crazy and like ice it over in double overtime. And then Suggs just took that insane shot. And some people call it a lucky shot, but I think it does take a lot of skill to be able to get the right angle to put that up. Like, there's definitely some luck involved in it. But overall, from beginning to end, the Gonzaga UCLA game was just straight crazy. I mean, it was no team ever fully pulled away from it, and it was always competitive. So you're always kind of on the edge of your seat, waiting to see who was going to end up pulling it out at the last second. Truly a March Madness game.
Yeah, I mean, this game is like you just said, the true definition of March Madness. You know, UCLA, they were 11 seed, so they shouldn't have had any business being here in the first place.
Scoring
Gonzaga was
90
number one.
points.
Exactly, right? Gonzaga was number one, but they had been criticized, a lot, during a lot of the season for not really playing anybody, but yet they made it this far as well. Overall, just an amazing game. Like you said, neither team really pulled away from each other, which is why it went to overtime. That Jalen Suggs shot, definitely there's a lot of luck in it, but it takes a lot of skill. I don't understand how you can say, oh, that was just a lucky shot. I was like, well, you got to be able to be pretty good to take a shot from that distance, to have the perfect art and for it to go in. So there is luck involved, obviously, but that was an amazing shot by Jalen Suggs, amazing moment, which didn't really help them in the end, but we'll talk about that in a second. So next up, we got the Baylor and Houston game. Baylor pretty much just eviscerated Houston. Houston just probably should have stayed home, honestly. Baylor had an overall good effort from a lot of guys. 5 guys in double digit scoring. Davion Mitchell also had 11 assists to go with his 12 points. Houston, just overall, they couldn't contend with Baylor. They had no chance to stick with them the entire game.
Yeah, so Houston was a big defensive team this season, and a lot of people were thinking that their extremely strong 3-point defense were going to end up shutting down Baylor. But Baylor came out in the first half and almost didn't miss a three, and it piled on so many points that Houston just couldn't crawl back from it. And unlike this, kind of a similar thing happened in the final, which we'll get to in a few minutes. But Houston had even worse of a chance of crawling back in the second half. And not only that, the first half they finished with, I think, 20 points. 17 were one person, and 3 were the rest of the team. And that's pitiful.
Yeah, I mean, you're not going to win a basketball game like that when you're down 45-20 at the half, like you're already dead. Houston did outscore Baylor in the second half, 39-33, but it didn't really matter. You're down 25 at the half. Like you're
Yeah, you
pretty
gotta
much dead
outscore
on
them by much
arrival.
more than 6.
Yeah. So Houston, great effort in the tournament, but Baylor was just way too much for them. They had no chance. And then we will get to the final, which was pretty interesting to say the least.
Definitely not what a
Baylor,
lot of people expected.
yeah, definitely not what either of us expected as we both picked Gonzaga to win here. But Baylor pulled out the victory 86-70. Gonzaga pretty much just couldn't keep with them the entire game. Jared Butler led the team with 22 points as well as 7 assists. Davion Mitchell also helped contribute a lot with 15, 5, and 6 in 36 minutes. Gonzaga, they just couldn't keep with them, even with Jalen Suggs adding in 22 points. Jrue Timmy only getting 12, and then Joel Ayayi only getting 8 points. That pretty much just killed him.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the problem here was whatever Jared Butler wanted, he got. Like if he took a shot, it went in. And throughout the game, Gonzaga became like if they were going to shoot a 3, there was no one really worried that it was going to go in. Their 3-point shooting was just terrible. And like Terrence said, Joel Ayayi firing up against UCLA was what kind of helped give them that extra edge. And with him and Jrue Timmy both almost not even like being a factor against Baylor, it helped Baylor really come out and crush them. And they did the same thing that they did to Houston to Gonzaga. They came out, put up an avalanche of threes, and Gonzaga just couldn't crawl out of that hole.
Yeah, I mean, we hear football in football, excuse me. We hear a lot of times they say defense wins championships, but that's especially true in this setting here because Baylor just had the clamps on them on defense. You win by 16 points, you're obviously doing something right.
Mm-hmm.
Gonzaga just didn't look right from the beginning. So congratulations to Baylor. We were definitely wrong. I didn't think Gonzaga was going to lose after they just blew through the first half of the tournament, but here we are.
Yeah, it was a crazy finish, but congrats to Baylor. They definitely deserve that one.
So now onto the other side of things, we have the women's Final Four and the women's NCAA championship game. So starting off with the South Carolina Gamecocks, unfortunately losing to Stanford. Zia Cook for the Gamecocks, they put up 25 points, but it wasn't enough in the end. Haley Jones led Stanford with 24, and then Lexia Hull came in with 18 points, 4 assists, and 13 rebounds in 39 minutes to help Stanford get the win.
Yeah, I mean, South Carolina really fought a hard game in that one, and they just came up short on two missed game winners. They took one, it bounced. They tried to do a putback attempt, and it was a little too strong, and it hit the backboard and flew off, and that time was out. It was over. But they really fought hard. But Stanford just fought a little bit harder and put some good defense on that last play and kept South Carolina's last minute push against them to a standstill.
Yeah, and then overall, Stanford was just a lot more efficient. I mean, if you look at their shooting percentage here, they were 41% from the field compared to South Carolina's 36.
Mm-hmm.
3-pointers, they were 62% to South Carolina's 45. And then from the line, they hit almost every single free throw, save for one, whereas South Carolina hit 66% of their free throws. So obviously, that's not going to win you a game. Simple as that if you're not shooting as well. So moving to the other game, this one was probably one of the biggest surprises of the tournament period. Overall score-wise, not necessarily that UConn lost, but UConn did lose to Arizona 69-59. Ari McDonald went absolutely crazy. No one could literally stop her at all. In 37 minutes, she put up 26 and 7. So she led the team in points by far. Connecticut, Paige Beckers did put in 18, 4, and 6. And then Kristen Williams put in 20 points and 5 rebounds, but it just was not enough to beat Arizona.
Yeah, this one definitely hurt to watch as somebody who was really rooting for UConn because I mean they never led. If Ari McDonald wanted a shot, she had it. She put up a lot of threes and hit pretty much every one. And one thing that kind of struck me as weird from UConn is they kept fouling Ari McDonald with about 2 minutes left, which is a little too early. And Ari was very, very, very efficient on her free throws, and it just every foul they put against her put UConn in more of a hole. And so, not super surprising that Arizona came up and won this one, but just the dominant way that they did win it was very shocking and it hurt.
Yeah, I mean, if you compare the teams shooting here, UConn actually shot better on 3 pointers. They were more efficient there, but neither team really shot well as far as overall. No, UConn shot 35%. Like that's not enough. Arizona shot 40%, which isn't good either, but it was enough to get them to win over UConn
Yeah.
regardless. And then finally, we have the tournament final on with Stanford getting the edge over Arizona 54-53 and a much lower scored game compared to the others. Uh, McDonald once again went off with 22 points, leading the way for Arizona, but it just wasn't enough. Haley Jones led the way for Stanford, 17 points, 8 rebounds in 32 minutes. Um, it was a poorly shot game from Arizona by every stretch of the imagination. They shot 28% on all shots. I mean, 17 for 59 is just overall horrible. They shot 27% from three. Like, it's just not going to get you a win, period.
Yeah, watching this game, I didn't feel like I was watching the same Arizona team that like whooped UConn because
Yeah.
when I watched that team, they didn't shoot super efficiently against UConn, but it was kind of noticeably that they would make a good bit of shots. But when they went against Stanford, they just weren't shooting well at all. I mean, they'd come up, take a shot, and it would be way off, or it would get blocked, or it was almost like watching a completely different team. And then there's a few other things that kind of messed up Arizona. They had a very good chance with about I think 3 seconds left to come back and pull a win off, kind of the same way South Carolina did. But they just
Yeah.
had a lack of planning, and Ari McDonald was getting triple teamed and still decided to try to take the final shot instead of passing it to an open teammate, and it just didn't work out. And Stanford got a well earned win. And the other thing I wanted to say was that one thing for Stanford that I noticed, they have the two twins, Lexi Hall, and then I can't remember her sister's first name, but the Hall twins. When Lexi was on the court, they were really, really, really efficient. And when they switched the other one out, is when they actually started losing the lead. So that was kind of interesting to see.
Yeah, I mean, Lacey Hall, she didn't put up any points, assists, or rebounds in only 5 minutes. So not really
Yeah,
much of a contribution there, but it didn't really matter.
Lexi
All,
almost got hurt, and then they put Lacey in, and they kind of the lead slipped away, and they put Lexi right back in.
yeah, and then just to finish up with that, the rebound battle. I mean, Arizona just got absolutely killed. They almost got out rebounded by 20. So I mean, when you allow a team to get darn near 50 rebounds and you only get about 30, you're going to lose.
Yeah, people got
Even
to
even
remember
with the
the
fact that
importance of rebounds in basketball. I mean, it's a
yeah,
you don't get your offensive rebounds or even some defensive ones, you're gonna get punished. So
yeah, even with Stanford having 21 turnovers compared to Arizona 6, it just didn't really matter. They were just more efficient and they won the battle on the glass. So congrats to Stanford there.
yeah,
So that'll be it for the Final Four. So I can definitely say this is probably one of the best tournaments on both sides that we had in a long time. I think Jacob can agree there.
yeah, for
And it was
sure.
really great to watch.
It was really fun for both sides. Like definitely, like watching Gonzaga kind of power through, but then suddenly fall apart was surprising but fun. And UCLA's run was definitely very exciting. And then UConn with Paige Beckers and Stanford and all that, they were extremely fun to watch for all their games. So definitely a great tournament on every end.
Yep. So that'll be it for our tournament discussions for the NCAA season. All right, y'all. So now we're getting into a trade in the NFL. The Jets have traded Sam Darnold to the Carolina Panthers. In exchange, the Jets get a sixth-round pick in this year's draft, as well as a second and a fourth in next year's draft. Um, we pretty much saw this coming. As far as Sam Darnold getting out of New York, not really them making a deal with the Panthers. I didn't see that coming, but I definitely figured Sam Darnold was on his way out, especially since the Jets have the second pick in the draft now.
Yeah, I mean, seeing Sam leaving the leaving the Jets was definitely like expected. As a Panthers fan, I wasn't expecting him to come to Carolina, and I don't think we paid like overpaid for him or anything. I mean, we don't have a whole lot of draft like going on, capital going on, but Sam is kind of an upgrade from Teddy, just not a super big one. But maybe what he needed was a new system, and he's reunited with Robbie Anderson with us, and I guess now we don't have to worry about the Panthers drafting a quarterback. So we have a few more options opened up there.
Yeah, I think when I first saw the news, I was like, what the heck? Like, why are we trading Sam Donald? But now that like, I actually sat on it, I think it can be good. Like we do have, Robbie Anderson's good. Obviously, Curtis Samuel's is no longer there. He went to Washington, of course. Still have DJ Moore. Christian McCaffrey is going to be coming back. And I think the Panthers should probably get a tight end if possible. And I
Yeah,
think they would
Kyle
have a
Pitts
pretty
would
good
be great.
offense. Exactly, right. If he falls that far.
Yeah,
But, I think he really did need a change of scenery. Now, obviously, if you look at his stats, and the stats aren't everything, but his stats this past year were like definitely not good. In 12 games, 2,200 yards, completion percentage was uh, right under 60%, 9 touchdowns, 11 picks. Did only have 4 fumbles compared to 11 and 5 the previous 2 years, but definitely not a good season. But, the Jets didn't have a good season either. They were expecting to have the number one pick anyway until they screwed that up and Jacksonville ended up getting it. But hopefully, I think Sam Darnold can turn it around. I think given, Joe Brady, he is an offensive, guru, I guess, if you want to call that,
yeah,
if you want to call him that. Given all those offensive weapons that they have, if they do get a good tight end, they've shored up the offensive line a little bit. You know, give Sam Darnold maybe this year and then next year, see what he can do. You know,
yeah. Let him try out a new system, try out some better receivers. I mean, he had Robbie Anderson before, but that was almost it. And so, like you said, he's got DJ Moore now. He should have Christian McCaffrey, and this will be you get Joe Brady behind him. He should be able to flourish in this a little better than he did in New York. And so, give him a year or two, see if he does flourish better, and if he doesn't, we're kind of back on the quarterback hunt, I guess. But hopefully, this will be good for him. I mean, I don't want the guy to be trash forever. So, and I don't think he's necessarily trash, but he just hasn't been able to perform very well. So I hope with us he will be given the correct environment to do so. But this now leaves a big opening for the Jets with that number 2 pick to see what they're going to do because now they're going to want to fill that quarterback spot.
yeah. I mean, it's obvious that Trevor Lawrence is going number one. We're not going to even speculate there. The question comes, number two, number three. Obviously, San Francisco moved up to three. The Jets are at two. Both teams. San Francisco needs a quarterback, not in the way the Jets do. Like the Jets literally need one. San
Yeah.
Francisco, if they do draft somebody this year, I don't feel like they would start this year. I don't think. I think they would at least give Jimmy, one more shot and to at least start considering how much money they gave him. But as far as the Jets go, they they've been saying that they really like Zach Wilson, the kid from BYU. Um, I didn't watch a whole lot of Zach Wilson last year because it's not like BYU has been on TV every single week, at least national TV. But I do like the kid. I think he's good. But the Jets are going to need a lot to be able to fix this franchise from the way they've screwed it up the past few years, especially on with Adam Gase and everything.
Yeah, I would say like to go back to what you said with the Niners, I think it would be good to kind of do what the Dolphins did with Tua let him come in behind Jimmy and kind of let them play off. But also maybe don't like suddenly make Jimmy not the starter halfway through if he's having a good season, like the Dolphins did with Fitzpatrick. But I think Jimmy will be good to kind of mentor one of these young guys. And then as far as Zach Wilson, like you said, it's not like he got a lot of national TV with BYU, but I've seen some of his stuff, and I do think he's nice. But I think he would definitely benefit from getting a little bit of like a season of veteran influence before he has to go out and be the starter.
Yeah, it would make zero sense to draft Zach Wilson, and obviously they'll improve the team more because they'll be picking at the top of every round, of course.
Right.
And they have made moves in free agency, but it's putting Zach Wilson in there immediately just to get him killed. There's no point in that.
And then as far as the Jets go, I think whoever they pick is just it's not gonna be good for them for this season unless they really do improve their O line and get some weapons for them. But I mean, I hope the best to whoever goes there, but they're gonna be having a hard time, and they don't really have a veteran to give them a season of veteran influence because they really need to fill the starter hole.
Yeah, I think I don't know. I think this draft is going to be really interesting once we get to number 2. Obviously, like I said, Trevor Lawrence is going number 1.
Yeah,
I don't know what's going on with the whole Justin Fields hate train all of a sudden.
I would personally take him number 2.
Yeah, but I feel like I don't know how Justin Fields would work in New York. I mean, Justin Fields is such a great talent and everything, but I feel like New York would probably take, Zach Wilson more likely than not instead of taking Justin Fields. But
Yeah.
there's no reason Justin Fields shouldn't be. I mean, he's the second best quarterback in his draft, and there's no doubt about it.
To be fair, if I'm Justin Fields and I don't get picked second or first, I'm not going to be as mad because I kind of get to avoid two of the worst teams and get with a team that was bad, but not something like New York where I get thrown into a situation where I now have to put the franchise on my shoulders as a rookie.
Yeah, because I mean, San Francisco had a bunch of injuries. Obviously, I mean, Bosa's coming back. All the 10 running backs they lost will be coming back. So they can at least he'll get to work with Kyle Shanahan. I think that'll be a great partnership there in the future with
Got
that
George
team.
Kittle.
Yeah, George Kittle as well. Can't believe I forgot him. Obviously. So I think Justin Fields at 3 would be the smart choice for San Francisco if he's still there, if the Jets do take Zach Wilson.
Yeah.
Now, looking at the Panthers side of things, it's interesting. They're paying Teddy Bridgewater a whole lot of money after they made that stupid deal last year. Obviously, Panthers management has been doing a lot better this offseason than they did last year, but I don't know who's going to be willing to take that contract. They're going to have to do something with it in order to trade Teddy, because obviously I don't see why you would trade for Sam Darnold. We didn't, like you said, we didn't give up an insane amount of draft capital or anything like that. We didn't give up like 3 firsts or some crap. But obviously you're not trading a second, a fourth, and a sixth for the guy who's, still really a baby. He's not even 25 yet.
Yeah.
For him to not be the future, at least the foreseeable future. So they're going to have to figure that out.
Yeah. The Panthers have definitely been a little better this offseason. We just picked up a cornerback today, and we really needed that. And then I know they've said that they're allowing Teddy Bridgewater to speak with other teams himself and just go out himself and look for a trade. So I really like Teddy as a person and as a player, and I kind of hate that we brought him in and now we're just kind of shipping him out. But I also hate that we dropped a bunch of money on him and then also grabbed like PJ Walker and still thought that it was time to keep moving on for another quarterback. So we just seem a little confused with our QB position. But maybe this Sam Darnold event will help us kind of stay clear of messing around with QBs and start building up the things we actually need to fix. So,
yeah, I would assume. Like you mentioned Kyle Pitts earlier. If Kyle Pitts is at 8, you have no choice but to take him.
if he's available at 8 and we don't draft him, I will be very mad.
I'm gonna be pissed. I don't care. Like, come on. I mean, we do need some. We've helped the defense for sure, but we do need some more help on defense. But if if he's there, like you have to take him. You have to.
Yeah, we're getting into this age where you have people like Darren Waller, uh, what's his name? George Kittle. I just said his name a minute ago. Travis Kelsey. Those like tight ends like that are really starting to become like super weapons for the league, almost over some wide receivers and running backs. And like it'd be really great to see Kyle Pitts kind of become one of these people, and it would be even better to see him become one of those people as a Panther.
Yeah, exactly. Because I don't think Kyle is like the literal best player in the draft, but I think he has the possibility to be like the best like at his position, if you get what I'm saying, right?
Yeah,
Um,
he's got such a big gap between him and the tight ends below.
yeah, I mean, his potential is just through the roof.
Yeah,
Um, it's possible that Atlanta picks him at 4 if Atlanta doesn't move.
yeah,
Um, and obviously, there's going to be a lot of quarterbacks going in that top 10. So, we'll have to see.
yeah. Atlanta is kind of a threat to take him, I think, because I mean, even though Matt Ryan is getting older, I can't see them picking a quarterback,
Yeah.
especially like with the fourth pick. So I would be afraid that they would snag Kyle Pitts, but I guess we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, I would assume Atlanta, that'd be a great pick for them, but I would assume they need to figure out something with how to defend because they haven't been able to do that for a good while now. But,
Yeah.
you know,
They'd also benefit from getting a little bit of an O-line help to let Matt Ryan not get flattened every game.
yeah, yep. So, yeah, that'll be it for our discussion on the Jets and the Panthers trade for Sam Darnold. We'll keep updated with this situation because obviously trades can still go on up until heck. I mean, trades happen the day of the draft, happen the night of the draft while it's going on.
Mhm.
So we'll stay updated with that situation. So up next, guys, we got some foolishness within the NBA with Kevin Durant and Michael Rapaport. So we did talk about this last week on the first episode of The Last Word, where we explained the situation initially. Well, now we have some fallout from the situation.
Yeah. So, of course, what happened was, KD and Rapaport were going at each other with some pretty harsh language in the DMs, and I guess more so KD with the language. And then for some reason, Rapaport decided to release it publicly, like he had been real life threatened or something by KD. And we talked about that last episode about how KD wasn't going to go fight the man, but that's what Rap acted like. And then KD came in a press conference and said, he was sorry for that language, more so going public. I don't know if he was really sorry for using it, but he just didn't want people to have that image of him. But the NBA hit him with a 50K fine, regardless of his apology or not.
Yeah, so this is interesting. Once again, I will say that Kaylee probably shouldn't have been wilding on Rappaport in the DMs. Like, it's really not that serious. I can understand you being upset because a guy's, just because you're an athlete doesn't mean that you have to take everything and not say anything back. But like, I wouldn't
Yeah,
even have bothered if I was KD, like responding to Rap, especially if he said, because they claim that they talked to each other before, so it's not like this is just something random. Like they've had conversations before, so I don't understand how it got to that point. Um, but then again, Rap, I don't know why he. The only reason he would have tried to get those DMs out is if he's trying to make Katie look bad and make him look like a bad person. There's no other reason to release those DMs to the public. And he knew what was going to happen. Katie getting a $50,000 fine. I don't really understand that. First of all, it happened in the DMs. Rappaport released them himself. Now, I know uh, people have brought up the situation with Donald Sterling. What he said, that was initially private. If you remember back in like 2014, he said some racist things, incredibly racist things, and resulted in him losing his team. But, that's a far cry from getting in an argument with a dude in DMs and the guy releasing it and you getting fined. NBA is kind of weird with their fines. Because if you remember Myers Leonard, he's said you know anti-Semitic slur on stream. He filmed himself saying that he got the same fine. Now, obviously,
yeah,
Leonard ain't KD. Leonard is no longer on the team. He's pretty much done. But I don't know, I just find it kind of weird. I think Rap should have never just released it in the first place. He should have just dealt with it with KD. Like they should have just settled it, squashed it, called it a day, instead of releasing it angrily on Twitter. KD getting a fine. Now, 50,000 probably doesn't mean jack to him, but still, I think just overall the situation is just stupid.
Yeah, and I guess that's one thing that I like to bring up when people say like, "Oh, it's only 50K. These guys make millions." Like, I get that, right? It's not really a whole lot of their money. But if I'm having an argument with a guy in the DMs and he just randomly releases my DMs and then they take like $100 from me, because I guess that's my comparison for the 50K for KD, I'm still be annoyed by that. And I also think comparing KD getting fined 50K for saying the words he said to Rapaport versus Leonard getting fined 50K for being anti-Semitic. It's kind of crazy. You would think Leonard would get fined more for actually pushing hate against a marginalized group of people, and not just having a little over the top argument with someone. I'm not going to defend KD's language, but I think it could have been settled in a much calmer way. But it shouldn't have gotten this far, and I don't think he should have money taken from him because of a private altercation that didn't really result in any kind of like harm to anybody involved, except for Katie's fine.
Yeah, and then they got Rap on Undisputed. Now Rapaport goes on there a lot just to talk sports and talk trash with Skip and Shannon, but Rap decided to get on there and dude is an actor, he's a comedian, and he decided to put both of those skills on display, doing a little performance at the beginning, talking about people saw him out in public, essentially bullying him, all kinds of crap. They didn't want to play with his dog and all kinds of nonsense like that. It's like, haha, but it's like, what was the point? Like, why don't you just stop? Like when you post something on Twitter, you got to take the opportunity to sit there and think like, all right, you got to pull it up. You got to look at it. You got to press send. And you have to type out all the stuff he typed out along with the screenshots. So it's not like this was just like a spur of a moment thing, Like,
yeah,
I don't think
he really thought this through and thought, yeah, this is the move I want to make.
Yeah, I don't think he wanted to like kill KD's reputation, but obviously, like, you tweet something out like you expose DMs for a reason. You expose DMs to get at somebody. So they should have just not even brought Rap on. I don't know what the point of that was.
I know Shannon and Skip just kind of like verbally assaulted him for his foolishness. So I guess that was what they wanted.
Yeah, I mean, they just looked generally annoyed. And I mean, if you annoy Skip, you really got to be like an idiot, But overall, I think it's just a dumb situation. But I get this pretty much, finished. Katie got the fine. Rap looks stupid. Either way, it's done. Sticking with the NBA here, but a different kind of news. The Bucks decided to give Jrue Holiday a big time extension, 4 years worth $135 million. With bonuses, he could get up to $160 million. That includes a player option for the 4th year, which is 2024 and 2025. So you being the Bucks fan here, what do you think about that?
So on paper, this seems good and bad, right? On the one hand, you have that we've now locked in our big three with like big deals for the whole year, and of course, the Bucks' big three is not as big as like the Nets, but it's Giannis, Chris Middleton, and Jrue Holiday. And overall in the season, Jrue Holiday is averaging 17 points, about 6 assists, and about almost 5 rebounds, 4.5. And he's also, of course, one of the most underrated like defenders, especially for the guard position. So, like on one hand, I'm really happy that we've kept him in, and he said he's going to be like a Buck for life. So he's probably going to end up retiring with us, which is pretty cool too. And this past week, he was Eastern Conference Player of the Week, averaging 26.8, 8.5 assists, and then 5 rebounds with 2.5 steals per game. And he was shooting like 63% from the field and 45 from three. So he's been really efficient, especially this past week. He's starting to kind of flare up into his role. However, we put the biggest contract ever on Giannis. Then we put a huge contract on Chris Middleton, and now we've put another huge contract on Jrue Holiday. And so what that means is if this doesn't work out for us by the time these contracts kind of fizzle out, we're kind of screwed because these guys are getting kind of old, right? They're not super old, but Chris is 30 or like 28, I think. Jrue Holiday is 30. Giannis is about 25 or 26. And so once these contracts start to run out, if we don't actually get a championship within this, we don't have a lot of young people on the team to slowly build up from, and we don't have cap space. And we're going to be paying the luxury tax for the next few years, I think. And if Chris picks up his player option on his last year, we'll be paying a different kind of tax. I don't remember exactly what it's called. I'm not very good on all the various NBA player taxes, but it's kind of a win-lose situation. If we win quickly, that'd be great, and it kind of makes all the deals worth it. But it is a lot of money to put on three guys who you wouldn't really call, like, aside from Giannis, top 10 or top 5 in the league, and especially when we're making this our big three as the Nets get Aldridge, Harden, KD, Kyrie, Blake Griffin. It just seems like it's not quite enough, but hopefully it'll work out. It's just I like this deal and I don't like this deal. It just really depends on what ends up happening during the span of these three contracts.
Yeah, I pretty much agree with most of what you said there. I look at it from the angle of the Bucks championship window here. Considering the fact that they've had the MVP of the league for the past 2 years, whether you want to debate if it should have been someone else or not, I believe Giannis deserved both MVPs. Even being a Laker fan, with LeBron, the Bucks, I feel like their best opportunity, like it has to be like right now, or it would have been the past 2 years when Giannis won the MVP. Unless these teams like blow up in the next 2 years, as far as like the Lakers somehow if they blow up, the Nets, whoever else is at the top there. But I don't really see it happening
Yeah.
because last year really, I can give them the first year when the Raptors beat them. They neutralized Giannis with the whole box thing. That's just one thing. That's one time that happened. I'll give them a pass there. But last year, even when Giannis went down, they were getting beat beforehand anyway.
Yeah.
So
As
these
a
role
matter of fact, we
players,
had our best game when Giannis was injured.
yeah, ironically, right? So they need to show up. These role players, Jrue Holiday needs to show up. Chris Middleton, more so probably than anybody, because he is still the number 2, I'd say.
Yeah, he's just got
So
to be consistent.
yeah, like he has to be regular season Chris Middleton in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Giannis is going to do what Giannis is going to be Giannis. He's going to do whatever you got to do. He's going to be putting up 30 points a game, et cetera, et cetera. Giannis is just going to be Giannis. Everybody else needs to step up. To
This
be
is
fair,
probably
though, go ahead.
okay. I was gonna say this is probably kind of shared within the Bucks like fan base, but I think our coach as well can be kind of the problem. Coach Mike Budenholzer, his defense against
Oh
3-point
yeah,
shooters is non-existent, and
yeah,
it's kind of his schemes that keep bringing us into these terrible situations in the playoffs because he gets us to like with the Raptors. We were up 2-0, but then once things start falling apart, he doesn't change anything and just keeps trying the same thing over and over again. And then we end up losing 4 in a row. And so I like Budenholzer, but I do think that we might want to move away from him if we really want it to get a championship within this window of Jrue Holiday, Chris Middleton, and Giannis Antetokounmpo.
yeah. What I was just going to say is like I don't really. Obviously, they want to win the championship, but I wouldn't really blame them if they lost this year. Like they have to make the Eastern Conference Finals for
Yeah.
sure. Besides that, if they lost to the Nets, I wouldn't really kill them. Like that shouldn't really be a referendum on Giannis, considering if KD, Harden, and Kyrie are all at full strength, completely healed for the playoffs, who's going to beat them, right?
Yeah. And as a Bucks fan, I think if KD, Kyrie, and Harden at full strength were to lose to Giannis, Chris Middleton, and Jrue Holiday, they would get like destroyed by the media.
Oh yeah, they'd get killed. Like I feel like the Nets are probably they're the biggest favorite to win, obviously, but they should be considering what team they have. Even
Yeah.
over the Lakers, who are defending champs. I feel like like I said, they have to get to the Eastern Conference Finals at the very least. If they lose to the Nets in like 7 or something like that, and it's competitive, then
Yeah, don't
hopefully
get
hopefully you have the Nets like blow up or something, and you just continue what you're doing with the Bucks. As far as this, mini big three, I guess. Uh, Otherwise, if they get like destroyed or something, or they don't even make it to the Eastern Conference Finals, then you start to question like, what exactly is the problem up there in Milwaukee?
Yeah. It's if we don't make the finals or like the Eastern Conference Finals this time, especially after not even getting to like the semis last year, it'll be pitiful. I do think that we should. I don't think there's much aside from the Nets that would hold us out of that in the East. Maybe the Sixers at full strength would be a little threatening to us this year, but guess we'll see. I just really hope we at least make the Eastern Conference Finals. Otherwise, we've got to start looking at our coaches for sure and start figuring out something else because we've made a lot of player changes in these past 3 years. We have almost a completely new roster this year, so it's just things have got to shake up somewhere else if we don't make it to the Eastern Conference Finals.
Yeah. I mean, the way the NBA is going right now, it seems like you're going to have at least two all NBA type players, two top 15 guys to at least win.
Yeah,
Um, Otherwise, you have to have a team that's like the Raptors team where you had, an all NBA guy in Kawhi and then very good players all around. You
yeah,
know, you're not going to be able to have a team that's just a few good guys and then nothing around them win. It's just not going to happen.
yeah. Three guys and then a bunch of people who may show up or may not. Um, I will say this year, additions like Jeff Teague and Bobby Portis have been useful so far. Bobby Portis has been on the team the whole season. Jeff Teague has played like 2 games or 1 game, but Teague dropped 15 against the Warriors the other day, and so maybe those two will be pretty helpful in boosting us up. But we've got to have better role players and honestly better rotation when it comes to who's in at what time of the game.
Yeah, I will agree there. But we'll just have to wait and see. The season's still got a decent amount of time left.
Yeah.
We've got about 5.5 weeks or so until the play-in, then the playoffs start. So once we get to the second round of the playoffs, it's going to get real. We're going to see what these teams are made of.
Yeah.
All right, so that'll be it for that. So 2 segments ago, we talked about NBA foolery with Katie and Rapaport. Now let's talk about some NBA ESPN foolery with Paul Pierce getting fired on his day off.
So, for
Jesus
those of you
Christ.
not aware with what happened, Paul Pierce went on an Instagram Live at about 2 or 3 a.m. and he was smoking, and there were strippers around him. And I mean, the man was just having a good time, I guess. And then about a day or two later, it said that Paul Pierce and ESPN mutually agreed to quote unquote part ways. And then Paul Pierce said that he had something big coming. So, don't know exactly what he means by that. But yeah, just kind of a weird act of foolery by ESPN to fire him for that. Like I know it's a little unprofessional to have like strippers on your live when you're that kind of figure, but also it's not like he was at work or like he was showing off the ESPN brand in any way. It was just him. So kind of weird.
Yeah, that was kind of weird. Like I understand like why they did it, but it's not like, he was out here, doing a drive-by on live or some crap like that. Like the man just was smoking weed and he had a stripper in the back with
Yeah.
him.
And
You
it wasn't
know,
like a Jamal Murray situation either.
yeah,
Like, there was no like actual sexual activity. It was just a stripper in the background. So I mean,
yeah. I guess it's probably. I think ESPN probably wanted to get rid of Paul anyway. I think because I don't feel like they would just release him just because of that. Like I feel like they probably wanted to look for a reason to get rid of him before, and
yeah,
then
I agree.
saw
I think
the
it is.
live. It was like, okay, yeah, we can use this as a reason, for inappropriate conduct or whatever. Because I assume, Paul Pierce is not a dummy, even though he has like insanely crazy takes with NBA. I don't think he's a foolish man by any means.
Yeah.
So he probably either knew he was already on his way out or he simply did not care for
Yeah,
him to
'cause
do that.
I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say, like, this is not his first time being out at 3 AM smoking weed with strippers around or anything. So, like, for him to post this on live, it just kinda seems like he either knew he was about to be gone anyway, or he just thought, "Nah, I don't care." So
Yeah. Because I mean, immediately after, like they announced that he posted the thing talking to, like you said, like, oh, he's got something big planned. He's laughing and all kinds of crap. So like, I don't think he even really cared.
Yeah.
So
But
power to Paul Pierce.
this, like you said, power to Paul Pierce, but this is not ESPN's only act of foolery this week. Uh, if you have missed it, they have released the top 25 under 25 list, and there are some very questionable things. People like John Morant and RJ Barrett are simply not on the list, and then people like LaMelo Ball are number 3.
So I think ESPN listed this as a potential list. I'm pretty sure, but even then, like I feel like it's a little kind of disrespectful to put Lamelo at 3 already, just to offer the sample size of this season.
Yeah,
He's obviously been playing. He's been playing amazingly, but we're seeing guys like Devin Booker, Donovan Mitchell, Ben Simmons. Like so that people forget about Ben as well. We've seen them
yeah.
ball out for the past few years. So
You
Lamelo could
gotta
end up being the best guy in the league one day, but we don't know that.
Yeah, you got like all-star centers like Bam Adebayo as well, who've consistently averaged about 20 and for the past 2 or 3 years now. And so it's a little weird to put Lamelo over him. I do think Lamelo will be a better player than Bam overall, but like right now, I'm not going to take Lamelo over Bam or Booker or Mitchell or Simmons or even De'Aaron Fox.
Yeah, I feel like it's not like the ESPN's opinion really matters all that much, because obviously they put Zion at 2, which is not surprising considering I think Zion would be amazing. He'd probably be Hall of Fame talent, like for
Yeah,
sure, for him to come probably be the face of the league. But as just a straight basketball player, like number 2, like right,
yeah.
Luka's number 1. So it's just kind of interesting.
I'm not sure where Trey Young was on that list or if he was also left off as well, but yeah,
Yeah,
Luca being at 1 is completely understandable. If they meant it as a potential list or as a current list, Luca being at number 1 is pretty much solid. But
yeah,
Zion, as you said, he definitely will be an all Hall of Fame great. But right now, I'm not sure I would take him over people like Devin Booker or Bam Adebayo or things like that. Maybe over Bam, but I think Bam defends a little better than Zion and can still put up the same amount of like offensive uh, threat. And same with Ben Simmons. Simmons definitely defends better than Zion and is kind of more of an offensive threat than Zion at times. It just depends on what you mean by threat. But overall, Zion's going to eclipse Bam, Simmons, and easily. It's just right now, no.
yeah. I feel like ESPN did this more as like who can be the face of the league kind of thing, like we mentioned.
Yeah,
Because I mean, obviously, I can see nothing against like Ben Simmons or Bam or really like Donovan Mitchell, but
they're not like
ESPN, they're not as promotable for
yeah,
ESPN as Lamelo or Zion. Luca is a good combination of being an amazing player and
being
easily
pretty nice.
to promote.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
then of course Lamelo and Zion had really big college careers that ESPN followed, and then they exploded into like, these great NBA players. Whereas like people like Bam or Simmons, they were pretty good in college or like coming up before they got into the league, but they weren't profitable then, and they haven't really grown into being like these. If you put up a face of like Lamelo Ball or Zion to some people who aren't like as big into basketball, they're still going to know who they are. I don't think if you showed a picture of Bam Adebayo to like a casual player, he's going to be able to name him.
yeah, that's pretty understandable there. So I don't think I think ESPN is out of pocket for the list, but I don't think it's like the end of the world either. It's not gonna. That's
Yeah,
why
some
we're
people act
talking
like
about it.
they've like
Yeah,
absolutely disgraced these players. I don't think they've done that. It's not really that big of a deal. It's just a
yeah.
dumb list.
Yeah, that is why it is at the end of the show. It's not that big of a deal. Other sports shows, they would probably start the episode with the list as if that's like the end of the world. It's not.
Yeah. And of course, we get the last word on the topic, and we're here to let you know that this list doesn't mean much. It's not a big deal. Don't lose your mind over it or anything.
Yeah, honestly. So yeah, that'll be it for the ESPN Foolery for this week. I'm pretty sure we'll be talking about some more. All right, guys. So looking ahead to our next week of sports, as of right now, the Masters have already started. They started earlier today. This is round one. They will be going until Sunday. Round four will conclude. As of right now, Justin Rose is in the lead by a good margin. He's -7. The next best score right now is -3. So, he's got a pretty good lead, but obviously it's just the first round. Um, Jordan Spieth is down at the eighth spot. He's tied for eighth with four other guys. You've got Phil Mickelson all the way down at the bottom of the leaderboard. He's tied for 53, so he's obviously not having a good time. You also got Bubba Watson, Brooks Koepka, and Dustin Johnson. They're pretty far down as well. So a lot of the big names, they're not having as good of times in the tournament so far. But like I said, I mean, you got 3 more rounds until the end. So we'll see how that plays out.
Yep, and golf will not be the only thing going on throughout the next week. We've got NBA games pretty much every day, as well as hockey games, the NHL, of course, and then MLB games throughout the whole week, pretty much all day, every day. So we'll have a lot of games going on to talk about if there's any big highlights or anything like that.
Yeah, I mean, you got pretty much every single day, like you said, NBA, MLB, and NHL. We're obviously not going to break down every single game, but anything big happens in the next week, we'll be talking about it on the next episode. So that's all for you guys today. We really hope you guys enjoyed listening, coming out. This has been T Brown 31 from the Takedown Sports here with Jaboc the Great.
Yep, and thank you guys for tuning in. Like, comment, and subscribe, and we will see you later.